All right, we are on chapter 1, the Battle of the Labyrinth. The last thing I wanted to do on my summer break was blow up another school. But there I was, Monday morning, the first week of June, sitting in my mom's car in front of Good High School on East 81st Street. Good was this big brownstone building overlooking the East River. A bunch of BMWs and Lincoln Town cars were parked out front. Staring up at the fancy stone archway, I wondered how long it would take me to get kicked out of this place. Just relax. My mom didn't sound relaxed. It's only an orientation tour, and remember, dear, this is Paul's school, so try not to, destroy it. Yes. Paul Blowfist, my mom's boyfriend, was standing out front, greeting future ninth graders as they came up the steps. With his salt and pepper hair, denim clothes, and leather jacket, he reminded me of a TV actor. But he was just an English teacher. He'd managed to convince Good High School to accept me for ninth grade, despite the fact I'd gotten kicked out of every school I'd ever attended. I tried to warn him it isn't a good idea, but he wouldn't listen. I looked at my mom. You haven't told him the truth about me, have you? On the wheel. She was dressed up for a job interview. You've got your date, and it's not a date, I protested. It's just Annabeth, Mom. Jeez. Well, she's coming all the way from camp to meet you. Yeah. You're going to the movies. Yeah. Just the two of you. Mom. She held up her hands in surrender, but I could tell she was trying hard not to smile. You better get inside, dear. I'll see you tonight. I was about to get out of the car when I looked over at the steps of the school. Paul Blowfist was greeting a girl with frizzy red hair. She wore a maroon t-shirt, ratty jeans decorated with marker drawings. When she turned, I caught a glimpse of her face, and the hairs on my arm stood straight up. Percy, my mom asked, what's wrong? Nothing, I stammered. Does the school have a side entrance? Down the block on the right. Why? I'll see you later. My mom started to say something, but I got out of the car and ran, hoping the red-headed girl wouldn't see me. What was she doing here? Not even my luck could be this bad. Yeah, right. I was about to find out my luck could be a whole lot worse. Sneaking into orientation didn't work out too well. 2 cheerleaders in purple and white uniforms were standing at the side entrance, waiting to ambush freshmen. Hi, they smiled, which I figured was the first and last time any cheerleaders would be that friendly to me. One was blonde with icy blue eyes, and the other was African-American with dark curly hair like Medusa's. And believe me, I know what I'm talking about. Both girls had their names stitched in cursive on their uniforms, but with my dyslexia, the words looked like meaningless spaghetti. Welcome to Good, the blonde girl said. You are so going to love it. But as she looked me up and down, her expression said something like, Ew, who is this loser? The girl stepped uncomfortably close to me. I studied the stitching on her uniform and made out Kelly. She smelled like roses and something else I recognized from riding lessons at camp. The scent of freshly washed horses. It was a weird smell for a cheerleader. Maybe she showed a horse or something. Anyway, she stood so close I got the feeling she was going to try and push me down the steps. What's your name, Fish? Fish? Freshman. Oh, Percy. The girls exchanged looks. Oh, Percy Jackson, the blonde one said. We've been waiting for you. This sent a major uh-oh chill down my back. They were blocking the entrance, smiling in a not very friendly way. My hand crept instinctively toward my pocket where I kept my lethal ballpoint pen. Then another voice came from inside the building. Percy! It was Paul Blowfist, somewhere down the hallway. I'd never been so glad to hear his voice. The cheerleaders backed off. I was so anxious to get past them I accidentally kneed Kelly in the thigh. Cling. Her leg made a hollow metallic sound, just like I'd hit a flagpole. Ow, she muttered. Watch it, Fish. I glanced down, but her leg was like a regular old leg. I was too freaked out to ask questions. I dashed into the hall, and the cheerleaders were laughing behind me. There you are, Paul told me. Welcome to Good. Hey, Paul, Mr. Blowfist. I glanced back, but the weird cheerleaders had disappeared. Percy, you look like you've seen a ghost. Yeah, Paul clapped me on the back. Listen, I know you're nervous, but don't worry. We got a lot of kids here with ADHD and dyslexia. The teachers know how to help. I almost wanted to laugh. If only ADHD and dyslexia were my biggest worries. I mean, I knew Paul was trying to help, but if I told him the truth about me, he'd either think I was crazy or he'd run away screaming. Those cheerleaders, for instance, I had a bad feeling about them. Then I looked down the hallway, and I remembered I had another problem. The red-headed girl I'd seen on the front steps was just coming in the main entrance. Don't notice me, I prayed. She noticed, and her eyes widened. Where's orientation? I asked Paul. The gym, that way. But, bye. Percy, he called out, but I was already running. I thought I'd lost her. A bunch of kids were heading for the gym, and soon I was just one of 314-year-olds, all crammed into the bleachers. The marching band played an out-of-tune fight song that sounded like somebody hitting a bag of cats with a metal baseball bat. Older kids, probably student council members, stood up front, modeling the good school uniform and looking all, hey, we're cool. Teachers milled around, smiling and shaking hands with students. The walls of the gym were plastered. Big purple and white banners that said, welcome, future freshmen. Good is good, and we're all family, and a bunch of other happy slogans that pretty much made me want to throw up. None of the other freshmen looked thrilled to be here either. I mean, coming to orientation in June is not cool, and school doesn't even start till September, but at Good, we prepare to excel early. At least that's what the brochure said. The marching band stopped playing, and a guy in a pinstripe suit came to the microphone and started talking. But the sound echoed around the gym, so I had no idea what he was saying. He might as well have been saying, someone grabbed my shoulder. He might as well have been gargling. Someone grabbed my shoulder. What are you doing here? It was her, my red-headed nightmare. Rachel Elizabeth Dare, I said. Her jaw dropped like she couldn't believe I had the nerve to remember her name. And you're Percy somebody. I didn't get your full name last December when you tried to kill me. Look, I didn't. What are you doing here? Same as you, I guess, orientation. You live in New York? What, you thought I lived at the Hoover Dam? It had never occurred to me. Whenever I thought about her, and I'm not saying I thought about her, she was just crossed my mind from time to time, okay? And I always figured she lived in the Hoover Dam area since that's where I'd met her. We'd spend 10 minutes together, during which time I'd accidentally swung my sword at her. She'd saved my life, and I'd run away, chased by a band of supernatural killing machines. You know, your typical chance meeting. Some guy behind us whispered, hey, shut up, the cheerleaders are talking. Hey guys, a girl bubbled into the microphone. It was the blonde I'd seen at the entrance. My name is Tammy, and this is, Kelly. Kelly did a cartwheel. Next to me, Rachel yelped like something had stuck her with a pin. A few kids looked over and snickered, but Rachel just stared at the cheerleaders in horror. Tammy didn't seem to notice the outburst. She started talking about all the great ways we could get involved during our freshman year. Run, Rachel told me, now. Why? Rachel didn't explain. She pushed her way to the edge of the bleachers, ignoring the frowning teachers and grumbling kids she was stepping on. I hesitated. Tammy was explaining about how to break into small groups and tour the school. Kelly caught my eye and gave me an amused smile like she was waiting to see what I'd do. It would look bad if I left right now. Paul Blowfist was down there with the rest of the teachers. He'd wonder what was wrong. Paul Blowfist was down there with the rest of the teachers, and he'd wonder what was wrong. Then I thought about Rachel Elizabeth Dare and the special abilities she'd shown last winter at Hoover Dam. She'd been able to see a group of security guards who weren't guards at all, who weren't even human. My heart pounding, I got up and followed her out of the gym. I found Rachel in the band room. She was hiding behind a bass drum in the percussion section. Get over here, she said. Keep your head down. I felt pretty silly hiding behind a bunch of bongos, but I crouched beside her. Did they follow you? Rachel asked. You mean the cheerleaders? She nodded nervously. I don't think so, I said. What are they? What did you see? Her green eyes were bright with fear. She had a sprinkle of freckles on her face that reminded me of constellations. Her maroon t-shirt read Harvard Art Department. You wouldn't believe me. Oh yeah, I would, I promised. I know you can see through the mist. The what? The mist, it's like this veil that hides the way things are. Some mortals are born with the ability to see through it, like you. She studied me carefully. You did that at the Hoover Dam. You called me immortal, like you're not. I felt like punching a bongo. What was I thinking? I can never explain. I shouldn't even try. Tell me, she begged. You know what it means, all these horrible things I see? Look, this is going to sound weird. Do you know anything about Greek myths? Like the Minotaur and the Hydra? Yeah, just try not to say those names when I'm around, okay? Oh, and the Furies, she continued, beginning to warm up. And the Sirens and... Okay, I looked around the band room, sure that Rachel was going to make a bunch of bloodthirsty nasties pop out of the walls, but we were still alone. Down the hallway, I heard a mob of kids coming out of the gymnasium. They were starting the group tours. We didn't have long to talk. All those monsters, I said, all the Greek gods, they're real. I knew it. I would have been more comfortable if she'd called me a liar, but Rachel looked just like I'd confirmed her worst suspicion. You don't know how hard it's been, she said. For years I thought I was going crazy. I couldn't tell anybody. I couldn't. Her eyes narrowed. Wait, who are you? I mean, really? Well, I'm not a monster. Well, I know that. I could see if you were. You look like you, but you're not human, are you? I swallowed. Even though I'd had 3 years to get used to who I was, I never talked about it with a regular mortal. Before, I mean, except for my mom. But she already knew, and I don't know why, but I took the plunge. I'm half-blood, I said. I'm half human. And half what? Just then, Tammy and Kelly stepped into the band room, and the door slammed shut behind them. There you are, Percy Jackson, Tammy said. It's time for your orientation. Right, that is the end of chapter 1.